All right, let's bring him in. If you were an NFL quarterback in the 1990s, odds are at some point this man sacked the crap out of you. He's a two-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, 11-time Pro Bowler, and the NFL's all-time sack leader, Pro Football Hall of Famer, Buffalo Bills legend. Bruce Smith is here. What's happening, Bruce?
Well, it's a little chilly here right now, but and I'm also just getting over a battle with COVID.
Oh, okay.
But other than that, I'm doing fine.
I got to say, you look healthy. You look like you could jump through the Zoom right here and take one of us out immediately.
Well, my days of jumping anywhere are over.
They are? That's it, huh? You weren't jumping through a table on Sunday, unfortunately. Did you break one with your hands watching that fiasco?
I felt like it. I felt like I wanted to jump through a table, jump through the TV screen, or whatever else was available for me to take some violence out on. But got to keep things in a perspective. Yeah,
I mean, you were involved in some crazy, just insane games, from the Frank Reich 32-point comeback, Music City Miracle. Did you even believe what you were watching Sunday night?
I did not. There were so many highs and lows of that particular ball game, and I think those 13 seconds was one of the worst experiences that I'd had in that span that I can recall, to be quite honest with you. And we can dive into that a little bit more if you guys would like. But
absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to hear your take.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know, Bruce, if, now you obviously have some distance from those 4 Super Bowls, which, by the way, tip of the hat to Bills fans. They should be able to celebrate that on some level, a remarkable streak that's never been matched by any of the high-end teams in football history. But as you've gotten, years and now decades away from it, if Josh Allen calls you today and says, like, how do I get over this? Do you say, like, it gets better with time? Like, the pain will dull and you'll just appreciate that you were in that big spot? Or is it like, no, it never goes away?
It never goes away, but it does get better. Fortunately for him, he has an opportunity to right the wrongs that has taken place. And what I say by that, this young man played one of the best games I've ever seen a quarterback play, along with some of the other guys that are on the field. Just outstanding playoff performances. Davis, I believe, with 202 receiving yards in a playoff game. But Josh Allen really showed the impact of the maturation process and his ability to be able to not only will but lead a team to put them in a position to win this particular ball game. The fact that we did not win it and it came down to roughly the 13 seconds, just goes to show you how critical each and every down and every play and every second counts. It matters. So when you get down to the 13 seconds, we lost because in my opinion and in my view, we were out of position pre-snap. And when you're out of position pre-snap, it allows for a great offensive unit in the Kansas City Chiefs, and particularly with the great players and talent that they have in Kelsey and Hill and Mahomes to go down and make plays. But it even makes it easier for them to make plays when nobody's on top of you. Or if I don't know if you guys have seen the replay of the 13-second drive in which Kelsey, we had a cornerback that had outside leverage on Kelsey. There was nobody on the inside, which protected the seam route. It was an easy pitch and catch. If we had someone that was protecting the seam route and forced Mahomes to hold the ball for a fraction of a second, our left defensive end came scot-free. He would have created a sack, forced fumble, and the game would have been over. But unfortunately, we didn't make that adjustment on the field to protect that seam route, which gave them a 19-yard gain on the play. It set up put them in a position to go and kick the field goal.
You know, what about the people, and that makes all the sense in the world, but what about just forgetting any conventional defense at all? Like rush 2, rush 1 at that point, because no matter what, he has to get rid of that ball within 3 seconds, 4 seconds. So what does it matter how much pressure you're putting on him? Wouldn't you rather just have everyone defending all levels of passes back then?
There are other options that were on the table. Hell, you get a penalty.
Right.
A penalty forces 3 seconds off of the clock, and it's 5 yards. So there are multiple options, but we were just completely out of position.
Yeah.
At the pre-snap of that play, and even to take it a bit earlier in the game, squib kick would have been in order.
Yeah.
So there's some technical issues and some communication issues that didn't occur. And consequently, that's how teams lose ball games.
Yeah. I wanted to give Sean McDermott some credit because in a way you just become entranced in this game, and maybe you lose 13 seconds left. I could just step aside and watch the game like everyone else because there's no way anyone's coming back. But you're right. The squib kick would have worked, definitely taken time off. Although if you lose the Music City Miracle and then Pringle runs back the kick for the touchdown somehow, we had defenders falling all over the place anyway, and then you have a kicker trying to block. How bad is that too? I don't know. I'm trying to give the coaches some credit, but so many ways around it too. You're right.
Let me help you out here a little bit.
Yeah, please.
Sean McDermott is an outstanding coach. What he was able to accomplish this year, having to overcome the numerous injuries that this team had to endure, along with COVID and the different positions that some guys had on the team, revolving around the COVID and the vaccine, and to be in this position, my hat goes off to the job that he did this particular year. I spent some time with the team during training camp, and the most important thing that I tried to instill in them is that, guys, we have to get home field advantage. We must get home field advantage, and to do that, you can't allow slip-ups like the Jacksonville game. You can't allow when you predictably had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat and we lose that game. They all came back to haunt us and prevented us from having home field advantage. And that's certainly unfortunate because I believe in my heart that if this game is played in Buffalo as opposed to Kansas City, there would have been a different outcome. But the fact still remains it was in Kansas City. We had every opportunity to win this ball game, and in the last 13 seconds, we were out of position to do so.
Yeah.
What is it like when you have a moment like that where you have your entire season, everything you've been working for, training camp? Like you said, you were with them in training camp, right? So you, especially working with some of these young D linemen, I'm sure, when you spent all that, months and months and months and months of work, and it's all boiled down to this faster than you would use the microwave.
Well, it's something that takes a tremendously long time to overcome. You start thinking about all of the workouts, all of the film preparation, all of the sacrifices that you made throughout the course of the year to put yourself in a position to be able to compete and make it to the playoffs. And then you get to the playoffs. It's devastating. But for those true pros, the pros, this should motivate you. This should build character. This should make you want it even more and make you want to work that much harder to make sure that this never happens again. I had an opportunity to talk to Sean McDermott yesterday and just talk about the similarities between our team of the late 80s and this team of the early 2020s. In 1988, we lost to the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
That game was away. In 1989, we lost to the Cleveland Browns. They went on to play the Denver Broncos in Denver for the AFC Championship. And at that point, we said, no more. This is not going to happen again. We're going to have home field advantage the next time, the next year that we commit ourselves to the season. And that's when we went on our 4-year run. So I'm hoping that this I would say setback, disappointing loss, devastating loss will be something that will motivate this team. And we talk about this window of opportunity. That was one of the speeches that I gave the team this past training camp. There's a window of opportunity for every team. And sometimes you don't have control over that window. But what you can't control is right here and right now. And we have a nucleus led by Sean McDermott and this rising superstar in Josh Allen to make sure we capitalize on this window of opportunity, because you never know what's going to happen 2, 3, 4 years from now. Players are going to leave. Players are going to get hurt. Coaches are going to leave and go somewhere else. And you have to start over with a new system.
Right.
So we have to make the best of what we have right now and continue to build upon it. There's a chance we may lose Leslie Frazier. There's a chance we may lose Dable. We just lost one of the executives to the New York Giants. He became the general manager. So these are things that we have to make adjustments to. But while we have this nucleus of this team together right now, we got to seize the opportunity and take advantage of every moment we have and make it count, because tomorrow or next year is not promised.
Do you suppose, as far as that goes specifically, whether Brian Dable is in the building or not, is there now a shift when you talk about players getting hurt? My concern with Josh Allen is that you look at Cam Newton and Ben Roethlisberger and physical kind of quarterbacks who run around, they get banged up and their careers, fall off a little more quickly. Do you suppose that Sean McDermott on down is going to say, okay, we ran you around a lot in 21, but that's got to stop. You're the franchise. We got to land a high-end running back to take that physical toll going forward?
Well, those are discussions that I'm sure that they're having. I know it's a concern, and I raised that issue to Sean yesterday, and I'm sure some of the other players like Thurman and Jim have raised that issue as well.
That's the best. So the legends, you guys just get in the head coach's ear? Like, it's like, well, we got to call Jim Kelly, Thurm, Bruce. Who else are we going to talk to about how to make this right?
And that's one of the things I appreciate about this organization the most, and about Sean and his head coaching and his realizing that we want to help. We can give advice that most people can't give because we've been there and we've done it before. You just brought up an excellent point. you can't have your quarterback taking a pounding week after week after week, because sooner or later it's going to catch up to you. This is a collision sport. This isn't a contact sport like basketball or baseball. This is a collision sport. Every play, somebody gets hurt. They'll stay on the field, but they get hurt in some form or fashion. So we have to limit the number of plays that we expose Josh Allen to taking that punishment, because sooner or later it will compound, it will catch up, and we do not want to have Josh sitting on the sideline because of an injury.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll just, because you talk about Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, like it felt like just watching a whole like quarterback version 3. Like it was just a whole new thing. Like a whole guys running around doing all those crazy 4th down plays. And we're seeing more in the league quarterbacks who are faster, able to move around, like not necessarily like we saw Sunday night, because that's 1A and 1B. But you know, you got Kyler Murray's and so on and so forth. Would you have had more or less sacks today? Because obviously, in your day, they weren't throwing the ball nearly as much as they do now. But it seems like the quarterbacks are significantly faster.
Well, that's a great question. And I'm going to give you a straight up answer. If you're putting the ball in the air, I'm going to get to the quarterback. Mm-hmm. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. They're throwing the ball at least 25 to 30% more in this era of football than when I played. Typically, they had balanced offensive attacks. In my era of playing football, it was 50-50. Now they're throwing the ball in places of running the ball, because they throw these short patterns and short outs and things of that nature. And they let their skilled players use their skill. The Tyreek Hills, the Chase, the Chases in Cincinnati, and so many of these other extremely talented guys. But we're looking at a new generation of stars, and the NFL, my hat goes off to them, because this was probably the most exciting football that I've seen in a long time. It was just incredible. I just wish there was a little bit more defense that was played. I love the game against the Cincinnati Bengals, in which the other team, I think it was the Titans, were able to get 8 or 9 sacks, but they still lost the game.
Right.
I mean, how is that possible to get 9 sacks on a team and still lose the game? But to finish on my point, these new era of quarterbacks, the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jackson, the quarterback out in San Diego, and
Burrow, Herbert, right?
Herbert, and the young man in Cincinnati. I got to tell you, man, this league is going to be riding on cloud 9 for quite some time, and we as fans are going to enjoy every minute of it. I love seeing these guys perform at their peak, and it reminds me of the era of football in which that I played in, when we had the Marinos, the John Elways, the Jim Kellys, and so many others, the Joe Montanas, and so forth. So we've got a bright future of football to look ahead to, and I'm looking forward to this weekend of AFC Championship games. I think they're going to be an outstanding games.
Give us your winners. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to ask, because you're counseling Sean McDermott, counsel now Buffalo Bills fans. What are they supposed to root for now? Is it good that the Cowboys of the early 90s are one of the great dynasties, and that it's like, well, that's who we lost to, one of the great dynasties? Do you root for the Chiefs who just beat you, or do you want to see them and their fans suffer a little bit?
For me, I want to see competition. I want to see a great ball game.
Come on, Bruce. Come on. You have to hate this team.
Absolutely. Look, football is entertainment. Keep things in perspective. It is a sport. We watch it to be entertained. I want to be entertained. I want to see a great competitive atmosphere. I want to see guys getting blown up. I want to see offensive linemen get put on their backs. I want to see quarterbacks get hit by defensive ends.
Look at the smile on his face. He's not kidding.
He loves it.
I am dead serious. Yeah. I want to see defensive backs have some phenomenal picks and make great plays. That's what this is. This is entertainment, man. That's what we get paid to do. I want to entertain the fans. Whereas, like last weekend, they walk away and say, wow, what a great game. You know, you put a big smile on your face because that's what it was. It's entertainment.
Why did you back to Martin's question, real, and the sacks and everything? And it's true. You mentioned all those great quarterbacks you played with in your era, but the truth is, it's very hard for you to get a sack when Christian Okoye has like 28 carries, right? So should they just adjust the record books, especially with this extra game and how it is? Like instead of 200 sacks, like, okay, there's an extra game. Give me 229 sacks. See if anybody could beat that.
Well, an extra game, and they're putting the ball in the air,
right?
20 to 30% more. You know, you put an asterisk beside it, and you say, well, this was done in 16 games, and this was done in 17 games. I think T.J. Watt, for example, my opinion, defensive player of the year. What an outstanding year that this man has had. And he was consistent. And he even missed, I believe, 2 games. So there's a level of consistency there. His body of work is starting to pile up year after year after year that it makes me as a defensive player look back and compare him to some of the greats that are playing now and some that played before him. And now we can start having conversations about where he ranks and so forth. He has to keep doing it, but at least we can at least have that conversation about players and sacks and their utter dominance while they're out on the field.
Bruce, you said you spoke to Sean McDermott yesterday. At any point in the conversation, did these blue Viagra pills come up? You heard this, right? Bart Scott brought this up a couple of weeks ago. Have you heard about taking penis pills before a cold weather game to get the blood going?
I read something on the internet about that, and I didn't pay it any mind. I don't know what's going on, guys. Yeah.
Myles Garrett got all the credit for doing the quarterback graveyard, but you did it too, right? First of all, congratulations on having a yard big enough to have all those tombstones. But just a second ago, when you're talking about you want to see violence happening on the football field, you had a big smile on your face. It looked like you were remembering back when you were inflicting violence on the football field. I want to know, who was your favorite, most satisfying person to sack? Our quarterback, running back, sack, tackle, anything. Who was the guy when you got up, you had that feeling? Because you were just remembering something from back in the day just now. Yeah. Don't lie to me.
I have a great deal of respect for Myles and his talent, and he is quite the talent. And top 5 pass rushers in the game. He's there. For me, I had a couple of friends that actually came up with the idea. They were trolling Myles and some of the other players in the league, and they thought it would be a cool idea to duplicate what Myles did for Halloween. So they suggested creating or making tombstones with a local artist here and where I live, and of all of the quarterbacks that I sacked. Well, this was all taking place on the golf course. And I was like, guys, you know, that's not me. I don't put myself out there like that. Well, they convinced me after a few more holes, and they had a local artist create these tombstones. And when they pulled up to my house, and it was a U-Haul truck, and they lift the back door up, my eyes just lit up. I was like, are you kidding me? And I think it was 79 tombstones.
Wow.
And I had gotten to some of the quarterbacks, obviously more than others, but some of the trophies that I like to reminisce about and occasionally talk about are guys like Dan Marino. He had the quickest release in the National Football League in that era. So that's one of the guys that gave me my biggest pride and joy of being able to get to him and sack him. Obviously, Joe Montana, who was the GOAT. And if you want to compare eras and the way the game has changed, he still ranks up there. John Elway, who could do it all. He could scramble. He could throw a 70, 80-yard pass. He could do it all. So those three were at the top of the list of guys that I took the most pleasure in sacking. But Dan Marino, because he was in Miami, and it was a division rival.
Saw him all the time.
And it seemed like he had eyes in the back of his head. And he would always buy that extra fraction of a second to be able to step aside or step up into the pocket and get rid of the ball.
Do you remember who you took down the most? We have the answer here, but do you know?
Ken O'Brien.
That's right. 17 and a half times. Drew Bledsoe second, 12 and a half, and then Marino 9.5. But the 9.5 should have an asterisk because you're right. He had such a quick release. It might as well have been 20.
Yeah. What about, I hate to bring up a bad subject. And by the way, you have a bust of yourself behind you. Maybe it'd be a little graphic, but instead of tombstones, maybe you could get like, when people kill an elk and they put the head, maybe it should just be Dan Marino's head.
Oh,
and
that's a good idea.
It'd be neat looking. Be a little disturbing, but also cool. What about, I hate to bring it up, I've talked to you about this before, Jeff Hostetler. Is that the play besides the Norwood kick in the run of the Bills that if you change the result of one play, if you get that ball out of 15's hand in that spot and you fall on it, game over, and then the Bills dynasty tracks differently, right or no?
I agree with you. Jeff had the presence of mind while I was grabbing his wrist to change hands and put the ball in his other hand and tuck it. I think that was an outstanding presence of mind that he had in the moment to be able to protect the ball. But you are absolutely right. That changes the outcome of the game, and it probably changes the trajectory of how the Bills would be remembered in the Super Bowls.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate your time, Bruce. This has been fantastic. We learned a lot about how to deal with it. I love that you're still in the ear of the coach and you have a positive view of this Bills team. I went to school in upstate New York. I rooted for the Cowboys against your team back then, but those are the most rabid fans. They are owed so much. And it's a difference between what they go through and what the Lions fans go through every year because you got to get one. Got to get one of these years.
Yeah. Well, Sal, for me, guys would always ask me if I wanted to coach. And I would say, guys, I got it all out of my system. I love playing golf. I'm a real estate developer. I play golf at least 3-4 times a week. And I want to enjoy life. I just don't want my time to be committed day in, day out through that grind and that pressure and that stress of being in the game. Having said that, I have a skill. I have knowledge about this game that I want to pass on. It's not for me to keep. Just like when I came into the league, there were older guys that passed on knowledge and wisdom and nuggets to me that I took and implemented on my day-to-day routines, my practices, my conditioning, my eating habits, and so forth, that made me the player and the person that I am today. And I'm just trying to pass on some of these nuggets and skills and things, these little tips that can make you an impact player today or in this coming year, as opposed to 4 or 5 years from now. So that's what it is for me.
That's my approach with Sal and Marty. So yeah, I relate to that.
I think you have the perfect gig here. You're a consultant. You have a lot of knowledge. You could talk to these coaches and tell them what to do. And then when they're fired and they and their families need to move, you can sell them a house. It's really ideal.
Well, I don't do houses. I do multifamily apartment buildings, hotels, things of that nature. So,
all right. Well.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that because I was concerned. I watched your football life, and you had a quote that said, you still haven't found another job that will pay you $1 million that you go out and kick the shit out of somebody without going to jail. So I'm glad to hear you got all the shit kicking out now, and now you're kicking ass in golf. So I was definitely going to get that one in. I had to worry.
You know what a old timer told me when I was getting a little older into my career. He said, don't let your mouth write checks your body can't cash.
Right.
And at that stage, I was getting a little older and so forth and so on. And if you take quotes and one-liners and you process it, pass it on. You'll give somebody some insight that they can think about and they can digest, and it helps to make them a better person, as well as a more intellectually sound person, and make them think about things before they do it, or decisions and things. So I'm blessed. I'm happy. I wish the Bills were playing this weekend, but unfortunately we're not. There will be better days ahead, but I'm going to enjoy watching football this season.
Give us a quick Super Bowl prediction, Bruce.
Oh, man. You would have to put me on the spot.
Of course.
Well, I believe that Kansas City will represent the AFC. This game between the Rams and the 49ers, both of these teams have an outstanding defense.
Yeah.
This pass rush of the Rams, when they were fortunate enough to be able to get Von Miller, added to just this absolute dominant player in Aaron Donald and some of the other pieces that they have, and Ramsey, who's that standout lockdown corner. I tend to favor the 49. I tend to favor the Rams.
Mm-hmm. All right, Chiefs Rams Super Bowl, and then Chiefs win, and you could say the Bills were the second best team. That seems fine.
I want that to happen, though.
Thanks so much, Bruce. This has been great. We could talk to you for hours, but you should go golf. This is it's much more fun.
It's a little cold right now, so
okay.
I'm not going to be golfing. Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right, man.
All right. Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate it again.
Thanks for having me on, and kudos to Terry and Kim Pagula for the job that they did this year and assembling this team and putting the pieces together for us to be able to compete and continue to get better.
Absolutely. I have a feeling you'll be around in late January for many years to come. Yeah, Bruce Smith, everybody. Terrific. Thanks again, guys. Bruce. All right.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, 78.
Appreciate it.
Take care.